Boomer Coney live for the Built Ford Tough Studio. Boomer Esiason and Greg Giannotti. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network and wherever you are with the free Odyssey app that I read is going to be subscription-based soon. Did you see that? Oh, it's for another day anyway. It just popped into my head. I didn't plan on saying that, but when I said free Odyssey app, I was like, I think I saw that yesterday. Anyway, Jim Harbaugh back in the NFL. And I know he's a strange guy, and I know that a lot of weird stuff was going on at Michigan, and he was suspended twice in a season, and he's just got lots of stuff surrounding him, that Jim Harbaugh, and it didn't work out for him the first time in San Francisco because he didn't win that Super Bowl, and he got in a big fight with Trent Baalke, the general manager. But I will say that Jim Harbaugh now, at this point in his life, after winning a national championship in Michigan and coming back to the NFL, is very much like Pete Carroll leaving USC after winning championships and going to the Seattle Seahawks. And what did he do? He won a Super Bowl. And I think Jim Harbaugh eventually is going to get Justin Herbert and this team right there again. A tremendous hire, the best one of the offseason so far for me. So does Bill Belichick jump in? Does he wait a year? Or is this going to be Harbaugh's offseason? Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
I'm doing great there, G. And, listen, you're going to be suspended by the NCAA. You got 2 investigations going on. You wanted immunity in your contract. I think this is the worst-kept secret. Thank you, Al. It's the worst-kept secret in the offseason thus far in the NFL. He is a great coach. I will not dispute that. I think he's going to be great for Justin Herbert. I think he's going to be great for the Chargers. I think it gives them at least a presence now. With a coach that has a winning track record and whatever fan base they have, I think they should be excited about that. He's going to be in a division that has Sean Payton and Andy Reid in it. The other coach, obviously, is Antonio Pierce over there at the Raiders. So, in the coaching, matchups, I mean, he's got his hands full.
Sure.
And he'll have his hands full for
and
at
so
least
will
4
they.
games. And they will too. And of course, he'll try to get the best out of the quarterback. He'll be unrelenting. He is not going to be all that flexible. And again, another college coach leaving because of what is going on in college and the crap that they have to put up with. And I think most Michigan fans are probably really disappointed. I think most Michigan fans probably wanted to keep him and were hoping that he was going to stay. But I think that it also came out that Michigan was willing to put that immunity clause in there, that if somehow, some way he was going to get suspended for an extended period of time or whatever it was, the penalty was going to be, that would not be a fireable offense.
Yes, which, I mean, I would imagine that was going to be the case anyway, unless something horrible came out about him in this cheating scandal that was really bad where they had no choice. But, I mean, he won the national championship at Michigan. He's a Michigan man. They were going to keep him there no matter what. I mean, if you're telling me it's some football spying controversy, that's one thing. I mean, if it was some sort of crazy off-the-field situation, yeah, but he could have gotten away with anything there when it comes to on the football field or gaining an edge. But he's leaving because of the nonsense and the suspensions. He's not leaving because of the nil stuff, because he was able to navigate his team to a national championship in that world. And he hasn't been there for that long. It's not like Nick Saban, who had been coaching college football forever, and then things changed, and he's like, man, I can't do this.
Or Mike
yeah, all those
right?
guys. And Jay Wright. We've seen a ton of it. Roy Williams as well down in North Carolina when you talk about college basketball. So this is a little bit different. There's going to be sanctions. There's going to be stuff. They're going to come after him. They suspended him twice. I don't need this crap. Perfect time. Let me get out of here.
And you won the national championship.
You're going out on top. And, oh, by the way, the team that's got Justin Herbert as the quarterback is available. It's in L.A. I know the West Coast. I've coached down there before. Perfect.
And you get to bring your own GM with you.
Yeah.
So basically I think he gave the Chargers a list of 3 or 4 guys who he has got some sort of relationship with. And one of them is one of the guys here that works with the Giants. John
Schmelk. Crazy. Unbelievable.
But anyway, I just think that it was like we knew that it was a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
And he got a 5-year deal from the Chargers. He usually, because he grinds and because he has expectations, he usually wears out his welcome in certain places.
Yeah.
Because he is so demanding. Now, here's the thing. Like I always tell you, one of the reasons why I believe Bill Belichick has not been hired yet is because of what the Atlanta building internally is like. And all those leaks that are coming out of there now are people that are in self-preservation mode. You know, they're trying to save their jobs. They're trying to save their jobs because they know Bill Belichick, a demanding head coach in this league who's been to the Super Bowl 9 times, goes into that owner's office and says, hey, nice to see you. Good to talk to you again, blah, 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 blah. Owner says, what do you think we need to win? Well, the first thing we need to do is clear out the building because he's demanding. He's a head coach. He knows what it takes. He wants to control the building. This is why a lot of these coordinators and lesser-known coaches get hired because they're not nearly as demanding when they go in because they don't know what to demand. They don't know what they're stepping into. They don't know what the building is like. They don't know who, is the assistant GM. They don't know who, the business manager is. They don't know any of those people. And sometimes those people are the people that are pulling the team down, and you don't even know that because you're so focused in on being a head coach and trying to get the best out of your team on the field that there are other people pulling against you within the building. And that's why a head coach of the stature of Bill Belichick is so hard to hire. Same thing with Jim Harbaugh. This thing, I think we all felt like it was going to happen, but Jim Harbaugh's agent had to make sure he was getting assurances from the Spanos family, the owners of the Chargers, that they could meet the demands that Jim would want. It's not only his contract that he wants a certain amount of money for assistant coaches. He wants to hire as many coaches as he can, and he wants to give them the best, contract that he could possibly give. So the owners not only are just hiring the coach, but they also are dealing with a guy who knows what it takes to win, not only in the NFL, but of course in college. The same thing he was doing in Michigan. Hey, I need $160 million for a new weight room.
Yeah, of course.
And guess what? They got it.
They would get everything that he wanted, and obviously they reaped the benefits of that. Another thing with Belichick I do think that is at play, like let's just say that Bill Belichick and Tom Brady left New England at the same time, and Belichick was available at the same time Brady was. None of this stuff would have been going on. Someone would have hired Bill Belichick now. It would have been 3 years prior, so it would have been 3 years younger. You wouldn't have seen what happened after Tom Brady left, and people would have said, screw it. I don't care who's in my building, whatever. Bill Belichick is the guy. And I think that after what you saw them be so terrible, him hire Joe Judge and Matt Patricia to run the offense, to be one of the worst teams in football this last year, it's like, see Tom Brady go win a Super Bowl. There's definitely a little bit of bloom that came off the rose in the last couple of years without Tom Brady, whereas I feel like if he were available a couple of years ago, it would have been like, boom, done, here, hire who you want, I don't care. Guys like Rich McKay can go screw.
No. It's hard to hire a coach of Bill Belichick's stature. It's just hard. It's hard because there are demands that you don't understand, that I don't understand. None of us understand. And, he's in there and he's talking, and I'm sure his agent is talking to whoever is representing the Falcons. And, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. It's not just a contract for the individual coach. There's so much other stuff that has to be agreed upon, and you have to make sure that you clearly understand what you're getting and what he is stepping into. And that's why it's never just easy. Like we all would have thought, like, I'll go get Bill Belichick. How could you lose if you don't? Well, let me just tell you something. There's a lot that goes into hiring him. And it's not like hiring Brian Callahan from the Bengals. It's not like hiring Ben Johnson from the Lions. It's not like hiring Bobby Slowick from the Texans or Raheem Morris from the Rams or Antonio Pierce, who basically caught lightning in a bottle and the players love him. It's a completely different set of circumstances. This is like hiring Bill Parcells. Like when he left the Patriots to come to the Jets. You remember all of that?
Of course.
Like, all that, like it took forever, like to figure it all out and everything. And
yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing. And it's maybe even worse now just simply because of his success and everything that he has done in his career. And it would give a team a legitimate shot, immediate credibility, especially if they had the right quarterback down there. The question is Arthur Blank willing to clean out some of the stuff that Bill doesn't want down there?
But if you think that he's the greatest coach ever,
I do.
Don't you deal with some of that stuff? I mean, this is my point. That
not all of his Super Bowls were won by Tom Brady. I mean, some of these defensive performances they put up, like against the Rams and Jared Goff, I mean, there was one, I think, long completion to Rob Gronkowski that kind of opened the game a little bit for the New England Patriots, but that defense just completely shut down the Rams' offense.
No, I remember, and I was actually at that game. It was a CBS Super Bowl. It was down in Atlanta because it was a CBS Super Bowl. We were there, so yeah, I remember it vividly. And I do think he's the greatest coach I've ever seen.
So
I'm just trying to figure out a reason why, other than if I'm an owner.
That's the
but
reason.
Here's the thing.
I gave you the reason.
No, I know,
why.
but for me, if I'm an owner. And I guess they don't think like this. If I'm an owner and I think he's the greatest coach of all time and is someone that still has a lot left in him and is going to try to go for the coaching record, I don't give a rat's ass who's in the building. You're telling me that I'm going to hire Bobby Slowick over this guy? I'll wipe out the whole building in a second. This is big business. Winning is the only thing that matters. I don't care about anything. The ruthless word you always throw around. What?
Well, that's what it should be.
What do I care about any schmuck that's in here? We've been failing for the last how many years?
6.
Bring him in.
6 years of a losing record for the Falcons.
So
close. They've been close. They're close to 500. I mean, they get close.
Deal with all his nonsense.
Yeah, I would too if I were an owner. That's the thing. If I were the owner and I want add water and mix it up and let it go, I would definitely do it. But it's still a very, very, when he comes in, it's like a tornado. And he, just like Jim Harbaugh going to L.A. Like I told you, L.A. had an open building.
Yeah.
They didn't have a GM. This was the ownership that was hiring Jim Harbaugh and really trying to do it in conjunction with Jim Harbaugh so Jim Harbaugh could bring in a GM that he could work with. Kind of like Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch out in San Francisco. And by the way, the brain drain for the San Francisco 49ers over the last 3 years, from their scouting and front office and all these other guys getting, GMs like Adam Peters down in Washington.
Sure.
You think about the amount of people that they have lost, it's remarkable the success that they've had and all the people that are now given opportunities to go try to replicate that somewhere else that are coming out of that front office.
Of course, the Jets got the worst one.
Well, I'm not talking about coaching. I'm talking about front office people.
But coaches too. They got brains too. Coaches, front office, everybody.
But I'm just talking about the brain drain from the front office. That's what I'm talking about. But I do know that that everybody else is still in play. Other guys are still in play. Other guys are still, going through their interview process. We may find out something next week, depending on who wins these championship games. I'll tell you one of the guys that I really do like, and the more that I watch and the more that I see and the more that I listen to his interviews going into this game, is the defensive coordinator for the Ravens, Mike McDonald. He's another one that really has a presence, and it comes off really, really top-notch. The question is, does somebody want a defensive coach?
Yeah, and it's worked in different places. Obviously, we've seen a couple defensive coaches already be hired in Gerard Mayo and Antonio Pierce getting elevated. So it's not a foreign concept these days. But I do think that most owners, if given the opportunity and all things are equal, they would rather take the young offensive mind and hope that it turns into the next Sean McVay than try to go with a defensive guy. Unless, DeMeco Ryans had a ton of success, but he's going to lose his offensive coordinator. He was a defensive guy in his first year.
Yes. He may lose him. He may not. I thought he was going to go to the Tennessee Titans. I thought for sure he was going to go to the Tennessee Titans, but they decided to go with Brian Callahan.
Well, similar situation, right? Similar guy.
Son of Bill Callahan, and also, obviously around the Cincinnati Bengals and their offense and Zach Taylor. It's another kind of extension of Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, all of that group of guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Slowick is in that group. And I would just say that, he's definitely going to be looked at. Atlanta is going from a potential of hiring Bill Belichick and just lighting everything on fire to hiring one of these coordinators who are going to have to come into a building where everybody else preserved their job.
Now, people forget about this a couple years ago, but I don't forget about this a couple years ago. So Jim Harbaugh was in the Vikings facility interviewing for their head coaching job 2 years ago.
And who was he talking to?
He was
the Wells family and who else?
And the general manager there, who was Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, who was still there at general manager.
Okay.
All right. So Jim Harbaugh, is there. I'm thinking he's going to walk out of that building with a job. And he's going to go back to Michigan, and he's going to say, sorry, pack up his stuff and stay there. Now, they ended up hiring Kevin O'Connell, who's been fine. But I was devastated because I've always been a Jim Harbaugh guy. I remember coming in here and being so pissed off about it, saying this guy was going to change the franchise, everything else. It's very Viking-like. That's the exact feeling that the Falcon fan is going to have if they don't hire Bill Belichick and they hire some. Now, Kevin O'Connell's not been a bad coach. Actually, I like the guy. But he's not Jim Harbaugh. He's never going to be Jim Harbaugh. And whoever the Falcons hire, chances are they're never going to be Bill Belichick or even anything close. So that fan base immediately is going to be deflated if they go with Coordinator X as opposed to Hall of Famer.
Yeah, so and here's the thing about that Jim Harbaugh Viking thing. He had not won a college football championship yet with Michigan.
Right.
I think they had lost, all these games to Ohio State, right, and all this other stuff. So he had a lot of unfinished business to do at Michigan, and I'm sure he was also using this as leverage against Michigan and his contract for his assistant coaches. So, and I also believe that he probably went in there and said, look, you want me? Then I got to redo all of this. That's why he never got hired, because the Wilf family, this is what I believe. I don't have any inside information regarding this, but I believe that the Wilf family said, no, wait a minute, we're not ready for this. But the Spanos family is. And the Spanos family, is sitting in that stadium out there. They need a presence. They went down this coordinator road a couple times. It didn't work out for them. Now they need somebody to go in there and become, the face of the franchise and get the most out of their quarterback that they just gave a $250 million contract to.
That is right.
So it makes total sense for me. And I think all of us felt, anybody who's covered the NFL or just a fan of the NFL knew that Jim Harbaugh was going to end up there.
Yeah, and he is the biggest chip to fall, the biggest domino to fall, rather, so far in this hiring cycle. And Bill Belichick, all eyes on him next. Boomer and Gio on the Fan and CBS Sports Network.